Thanks, Vikas. So this morning you've heard Lewis articulate the mission for Actian. You've heard Vikas paint a very vivid vision as to where we're going to take the Actian data platform. What I'm going to talk to you about is how we're going to deliver on that vision. So it's going to be a very busy year for the engineering team here at Actian, and it's already gotten off to a tremendous start. The Actian Avalanche platform team have already delivered Avalanche 2.0. This is a new architecture that enables some hybrid flexibility that we didn't have previously. Some fascinating things that are going to be enabled by this, including the ability to push the data plane from the data platform into your VPC. So if you want to run with your data running on premises, we'll have the ability to support that. Or if you want to run within your part of a public cloud, again, that will be enabled by this new architecture. We're also really focused on the user experience and making it simple for people to get started and to adopt the technology. Whether they're technical or non-technical users, every interaction that you have with Actian in regards to this platform is something that we've thought through. We continue to see data integration as a key differentiator for the Avalanche platform, and we're focused on performance and delivering that performance at a really attractive price point. So you'll see us extending our lead when it comes to performance on the analytics side of things. On the data integration side, we're looking at releasing Data Connect 12 later this year with a new data quality capability built into it. We're going to have a new editor within Data Connect 12 called the Data Profiler that will allow you to look at data quality issues. That is a technology that you'll hear more about this afternoon from Chris Gilson. On the transactional database side of things, for the Versant Object Database, or now called the NoSQL database, we had a new release. The NoSQL 10 release came out in March. That enabled customers to move to the cloud very simply with some Kubernetes and some Docker enablement provided as part of the release. We also have a new capability called BaaS, or Backend as a Service. This is something that is going to be covered in greater detail this afternoon by Volker at 1:30. Volker's in the Modernize Your Data Integration track, so probably not an obvious place for him, but if you'd like to learn more about modern application development with BaaS, that session's at 1:30. For the Ingress customers, there's a ton going on this year to enable a journey to the cloud and to enable application modernization. So stay tuned for more on that in a few minutes. For the Zen Edge database, we're looking at two things. A key enabler here is going to be adding time series functionality, really important for IoT use cases and coming in our Zen 15 release later this summer. We also are focused on SQL. So we're adding SQL support to Zen Core, and we're looking at 20% performance improvement for SQL queries. So quite an ambitious undertaking here for the Zen team, and excited to see what you guys do with this release that will be coming out later this summer. So now a little closer look at the Actian Avalanche Cloud Data Platform as it exists today. So Avalanche started life as a hybrid cloud data warehouse, and what we've done with it over the past year is to expand beyond just providing the warehousing capabilities to include data integration. So that's kind of the beginning point for our data platform, and what you're going to hear later on is how we plug in some of the other technologies to this platform. So Actian Avalanche was designed for high performance at an unbeatable value proposition. To back this up, we employed the services of a company called GigaOM, and we employed them to run a 30 terabyte TPC-H benchmark. So TPC-H is a industry standard decision support benchmark. It's a cross-industry, so it's not tied to a specific market vertical, and it asks all of those fairly complex decision support queries. What you see represented in the two graphs here are the time taken to complete this benchmark for Avalanche, Snowflake, Redshift, Synapse, and BigQuery. This is time taken in seconds, so obviously the smaller the graph, the better, and there's nobody that beat Avalanche in terms of performance. If you look immediately to our right at the Snowflake number, I'm kind of a little embarrassed for them at their 17,000 seconds to complete something that took us about 2,000 seconds to complete. The right-hand graph represents the cost of executing this benchmark. This is a cost in dollars, so again, smaller is better. And again, somewhat embarrassed for Snowflake. Our numbers here are unbeatable. And what we're doing this year is extending the lead, both in terms of the performance and in the value that we deliver for money. The hybrid deployment capabilities today were available in the Google Marketplace as well as on Azure and on AWS. And later this year, as I've mentioned already, the VPC capability will give you the ability to push the data plane into whatever environment makes sense from a security perspective for your business. Our native integration capabilities are really differentiating. Nobody else has a platform that is as simple to use and to bring data into as the Actian Avalanche platform. And we've designed this for an operational analytics use case. So that is, if you want to have a real-time view into what's happening within your business, this is the platform for you. Next, let's talk about modernizing ActianX, Ingress, and OpenRoad. So to start with, we went to the Ingress customer base last year, and we asked them through a survey what their plans were with respect to moving to a public cloud. And what we heard from the customer base was that a significant portion have plans to move to a public cloud within the next 3 years. And in fact, many have already started on that journey. Their preferred deployment model was BYOL, followed by consuming Ingress delivered as a managed service in the cloud. So what we've decided to do is to meet the needs of our customers as they go on this cloud journey, regardless of what their endpoint might look like. We're also looking at delivering on Google Cloud first, and then we'll deliver on AWS and on Azure. So there's 3 phases to supporting ActianX and Ingress customers as they move to the cloud. Phase 1 is kind of started today. We already have the ability to take your Ingress license to the cloud. If you're not familiar with how to do that, there's a video in the Actian Academy that explains it, as well as a knowledge base document. But with the ActianX 11.2 release that's coming out at the end of this quarter, we will provide a Dockerized version of ActianX that is supported by Kubernetes and by Helm charts. If you're not familiar with this set of technologies, there's a fantastic session this afternoon delivered by Jeremy Hankinson where he lays out the technologies, how to use them, and provides a live demonstration of the deployment of ActianX 11.2 using Helm, Kubernetes, and Docker. Alex Hanshaw is delivering a session where he lays out the entire roadmap for ActianX and Ingress. So there's a lot more that's happening beyond just the cloud journey, although Alex does cover that in his session as well. Phase 2 to me is probably one of the most exciting things that we've done with Ingress in a few years, and that is to be able to deliver ActianX and Ingress as part of the Avalanche platform as a fully managed service. And I'm going to provide you with a quick demonstration that shows you what I mean by that. And phase 3 will be to deliver ActianX and Ingress in a cloud marketplace. And this will give you the ability to say something like, I want to buy 10 hours worth of Ingress for a new application that I'm developing. You can consume it in hourly chunks, and you can buy by the hour if that's what meets your needs. So the Actian Avalanche platform, represented in the dark blue boxes here, is what exists within the platform today. This green addition here, bringing in the Ingress database, making that a first-class citizen within the platform, providing Ingress as a managed service, I think is really exciting. And then obviously once Ingress is in the platform, we'll now be able to support OpenRoad applications running against it. At this point, we're going to switch to a demonstration because I think it's a technology that's better understood through a demo than me trying to describe it. So I'm going to share my screen, and at this point, you will see something popping up on your screen that will show you the Actian Avalanche platform. So this is Avalanche as it exists today. We have our warehouses and we have our integrations. We will be adding a tab in here that will say databases. But for the purposes of this demo, everything that today relates to warehouse, just think of replacing that word warehouse with database. So to create a database, I'll choose this Create a Database button. I'll now give it a name. Let's call it Hybrid Data Conference. I might regret that later. It's a lot of typing. Oops. Okay, then I will choose the cloud platform that I want to create it on. So you will buy from us Ingress delivered as a fully managed service. It won't be tied to a specific cloud platform. You can choose what makes sense at deployment time, and you will be able to have Ingress databases across AWS, Google, and Azure. It's up to you what makes sense for your business. So let's say for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll choose AWS. I'll now choose a data center that I want to create this in. So I'm going to go with Ireland, and then I will choose the horsepower for my environment. So I'm going to start with a very small dev and test environment, which is our smallest environment, this 1 AU. I can change this at any point. I could go all the way up to our largest environment, which is 128 AUs, and I can scale it back down again when I'm done with maybe a big chunk of work. This is something that's completely configurable, and it's the cloud deployment and our native cloud implementation that will enable us to scale this environment to meet your specific business needs at a moment in time. For security reasons, we have each customer's environment is separated from any other customer's environment, and then as an added layer of security over the top of that, we have a set of allow list IP addresses, and essentially you can say this set of IP addresses can access the environment, and that way you can lock it down. That could be a CIDR block list, or it could be that you set up a private link. We can work with you on a security configuration that makes sense for your business. And the final thing on here then is just to the idle stop time. So this is, if you've got an environment in which your ingress operations are not required 24/7, rather than trusting that the last person out is going to shut things down at the end of the day, you can say, if I haven't seen any new queries within this period, I'd like you to automatically shut down the database, and that will be taken care of for you. First thing that we're going to do after we create a database is to connect to it. So here's one that I'd previously created on Azure, and that scaling that I talked about, it's as simple as saying I want to scale this up to a larger server size, and then I can scale it back down again when I'm done. If I want to connect to the warehouse, I will simply choose the connectivity technology I want to use. So whether it's a specific application or a more generic technology like ODBC, they're all covered in here in our Connections tab. For ODBC connectivity, it'll say the first step is to download client runtime. The next step is to copy the string to my clipboard, and now I can go into my ODBC-based tool and paste that. It really is that simple. For those of you without familiarity on ODBC, we actually have links here through our to our videos within the Actian Academy. So for visual learners, everything's there, as well as links through to documentation. Monitoring is built into the platform, so while our Cloud Ops team will be responsible for making sure that your environment is running 24/7, if you're interested in finding out how many active queries are running, how many connected users do you have, this is all available to you as part of this managed service. And then finally, the query editor. So here you'll have the ability to write some queries to run against the database. So if I want to do something like, say, here's a simple SQL query that I've written, now I see the results right here. So I can edit this. It's got keyword highlighting. I can share it across the organization. I can have private queries. I can clone queries. I can set up tags for my queries. Everything that you may need to do in a query editor, all provided for as part of the platform. And all of this is covered with your subscription to the Avalanche database service. So it's the cloud infrastructure, it's the Actian X technology, and it's all of the management and pieces around it. Next, we have our integration. So the first thing that we may want to do is to load some data into our database. This is really simple. I'm going to choose my, my database that I have now running in Google Cloud. I'm going to specify the name of a table that I want to create. I browse to a file that I want to load into my database. And now I'll say I want to upload that data into the database. At this point, what you'll see is a list of the jobs that I've previously run. This should take about 10 or 11 seconds for this upload to happen. And once it's completed, that data that's within that file will be represented as a table within my database. So if you bear with me a second here, it should just take another few seconds to complete. And what we'll be able to see then is the output of the job. All right, I'm not sure why that's taking a little longer than usual, but let's keep going. So the next thing that we can do within the platform is load JSON data. We have a JSON data loader that's part of the Avalanche platform. And this gives you the ability to identify a JSON data source, to browse to the components of that JSON file that you're interested in representing as a table within your Ingress database, and then to create and populate those tables. The JSON loader can be scheduled to run at an interval that makes sense for your business, completely configurable to meet your specific needs. There's a session this afternoon being delivered by Jason Wagner where he talks about all of the integration capabilities that are part of the platform. So if you're interested in learning more about integration, that's a session not to be missed. I'm really excited by what we're doing to deliver Ingress and Actian X as part of the Avalanche platform. And if you're interested in learning more, there's lots to learn this afternoon. At this point, we're going to switch back to the slides. So I'm going to talk to you about our application modernization strategy for Ingress and OpenRoad applications. So on the left-hand side of the screen here, what you'll see is some of you are probably very familiar with ABF applications. And for partitioned ABF applications, we're providing with the OpenRoad 11.2 release that's coming out in the end of this quarter, a couple of utilities that will allow you to take the business logic that's encapsulated today in your ABF application and move that business logic over into the OpenRoad 11.2 server. So this utility enables that, moving that data logic as business logic into the OpenRoad server. So you can preserve the investment that you've made in the business logic for your applications. You could at this point then take your ABF application and take the forms that make up that application over to OpenRoad as OpenRoad framed. Again, there's a utility provided to do that for you. Now at this point you'll have a great OpenRoad application running against the OpenRoad server that can run against Actian X and Ingress, whether that's on-premise or in the cloud or delivered as a managed service. You've got complete flexibility there. But if you wanted to take the next step and you wanted to take your OpenRoad application, whether that's one that you've had for a while or one that you've just transformed from ABF, we have a web utility called WebGen that will actually convert those OpenRoad frames into HTML5 and to JavaScript. And now you can call from a web application through JSON, RPC, and COM to the OpenRoad server. So tons going on in the OpenRoad space to enable modern application development and deployment. There's some great sessions this afternoon. Chris Clark is delivering a roadmap where he'll talk about all of these technologies. WebGen is covered in great detail by Don Crowley. And then this modernization strategy is a partner-enabled strategy. So we have Nick Denning, who's the CEO of Digesis, talking about how Digesis are using these tools to bring their customers into a much more modern application deployment paradigm. And we're very excited by this new strategy. And if you're interested in participating, do reach out. It's a partner-supported strategy, and we'd love to have more partners in the application development space work with us to bring this to the customer base. If you don't have OpenRoad server skills within your environment, no fear. We will be adding the OpenRoad server to the data platform later this year. So we will deliver that as a fully managed service. You won't need to have skills in how to manage and deploy that environment. So I mentioned already, Data Connect 12, which Chris Gilson is going to cover in much greater detail this afternoon, has a new editor as part of it called our data profiler, and this data profiler allows you to identify, measure, monitor, and resolve data quality issues. We've also got some new connectors coming into Data Connect 12 and a new emphasis on user experience and making sure that that's very simple. So we have an early adopter program that will be starting later this summer, and we'd love to have you as part of that. And if you want to learn more, Chris Gilson's sessions not to be missed. And finally, to talk about Actian Zen. So Zen is our IoT database. And Zen 15, that's coming out later this year, will have a time series capabilities as part of it. But we already have a lot of capabilities built into Zen that have enabled us to take Zen and make it part of the platform. So this is something that exists today. You can run Zen Core at an IoT endpoint. You can then move data from Zen Core into Zen Edge. And there's a session this afternoon by Tom Bates where he shows how you can do this without any need for ELT. You can move data from the embedded endpoints into Core without requiring any changes to the data structure. And then we have built into Avalanche Connect today the ability to reach out to that IoT Edge gateway and to pull data from the Edge into the warehouse for analysis. You can then create up a feedback loop, right, where you can push any changes that might be required in the environment. Maybe you're monitoring temperature sensors and you want to push out some changes based upon your analysis. All of that is achievable with the platform as it stands today. Those capabilities are built into Avalanche today. If you go into our templates, you'll see a whole bunch of Zen templates that enable you to pull data from Zen into Avalanche running on Google Cloud. So lots more to learn from both Tom Bates and from Desmond in this afternoon's breakout sessions. So that's it from me. Lots happening within my engineering team. Really excited about everything that's going on. We've got a ton of exciting activities across the portfolio.